always keep SCVs queued up. Try to keep just 3 queued up, but it is better to accident or to be forced to keep 5 queued up and not miss any than it is to try for 3 and fail. So really good players keep 2 queued up at all times. If you're not as good about it and you need to work on it, I would recommend 3. And if you can't do 3, do 5. But definitely hit your SCV benchmarks. It's the most important thing in the entire game. You obviously have pretty good micro, and you know which units to be building, and you know how to use them. But your army is just gonna be smaller than another player's because you have less money coming in. So that battle didn't go horribly. It actually went quite well for you. You guys exchanged armies, and you killed just as much as you lost. I made some criticisms about the idea of attacking at that point with that army at all, because it was impossible for you, even though you did a great job of spending all your money and getting a reasonable amount of money, it was impossible for you to take that army and kill the Protoss at that point. Because of Warpin and the long walk from your base to his, he's going to end up with roughly $800 more spent than you if he's perfect and you're perfect. And obviously neither of you is perfect, so he only ended up with a small amount more spent than you, but he did have more money spent on army than you, and there's nothing you can do about that. So one of the equalizing things you can do about the problem that Protoss is always going to have more money spent against you is to always, the later you wait to make that attack, the less it's going to matter. Because, like I said, your army size at 6 minutes is 1,000, right? So if you're $400 behind when your army size is 1,000, that's 40%. But your army size at 10 minutes is 4,000, right? So if you're $400 behind at 10 minutes, then that's way less than 40%, right? Probably 15% or something like that. So yeah, the later you go, the better. But you don't want to wait too long, because if he gets Colossus, then bad things can happen to your grandchildren. His economy has been very big for a very long time. His spent, you can always tell how good someone's economy is doing by looking at these 2 numbers compared to his 2 numbers. So it looks like you've spent a little bit more than him, but you guys are about even. So you guys have relatively even shiz going on at this point. For some reason, he's up 34 supply on you. I guess it's because he's building these low cost per supply zealots. Anyway, so he's got 93 supply of army and you've got 77. In general, because Protoss units are so much more expensive per supply, Terran should have a bigger army. So army size wise, he is way, way ahead of you. So I guess something is not telling the story. How did you... You know what? The units lost thing is bugged. I bet he canceled the Nexus or something. I bet he canceled something really expensive at some point, and so this is just lying to us, because there's no way that he spent the same amount as you and lost the same amount as you and has a bigger army. I don't think that makes sense to me. Well, it's because you're about to finish all of this crap. If I unpause and wait until that shit finishes, then your army will be much bigger. So yeah, now your army is much... Okay, so that's it. That's, again, it's the same problem I was talking about earlier. Your shit, you spend the money, and then it doesn't pop until later, whereas his shit, he spends the money and he gets it. A big, heavily warp gate emphasized army is always going to have that problem to a much bigger degree than a higher tech Protoss army. So now you guys have roughly the same size army, and he's attacking into bunkers, so things should, in theory, go well for you, but your tanks are way too far forward. I'd like to see your tanks like back here, and maybe one up here. You also have... I don't know, Guardian Shield is going to make things sour puss for you. It depends on if you hit an Emp. I bet you won't, because you don't even have enough energy to try right now. This just doesn't look good for you, man. But we will see. We will see. Yeah, I think a big part of it is that ghosts cost $300 and aren't doing anything. Like, I don't think you emped, and you're gonna lose these ghosts without them emping. So ghosts without an emp, that's a big problem. And it's nothing you could have done anything about except not make ghosts, which is something I would totally recommend. or keep your ghosts in your base until they have enough energy for EMP, or get the ghost energy upgrade before you bother spending money on ghosts themselves. And don't drop mules into the combat. That's a little weird. I'm glad you pulled SCVs. You should indeed pull SCVs, but it looks like you just got economically outmatched in this game. His army spending was 19.5 and yours was 83. The first battle, I don't know. I got the impression while you were fighting it that it was going bad for you. And then I looked at the units lost tab and it was like, no, it went great for you, right? What is going on here? I don't remember this happening. Oh yeah, okay. And then come on. When I thought you attacked a lot earlier than this. When's your attack gonna come? Here we go. Come attack. Alright, so before the battle it already said 725. So yeah, he definitely canceled some building or something. So you were up by 500, and then after the battle you were even, and so that means you actually lost the battle by 500. It wasn't the end of the world. His upgrades were 1-1 and yours were, I think, 0-0. Did you get upgrades before the next battle? I don't think you did. I'm not saying you needed upgrades or anything, but just the amount of money he spent on things that contributed directly to the battle was a lot higher than yours. You're just way behind on unit space, and that is not generally the case in TvP. Also, Zealots are pretty resistant to tanks, just in general, because they don't clump up a lot, and with charge, they really do a good job of spreading out. And they're extremely high health per dollar, like very high health per dollar, and they have 1 armor, and tanks do 15 less damage against light units. So just in general, tanks in TvP, tanks are a utility unit. They're good to extend your range, but it's not good to spend a huge portion of your money on tanks because they don't end the universe. Ghosts are the same thing as Hellions. Don't make them, basically. Definitely don't make a lot of ghosts. Ghosts are a unit where if you hit a good EMP, you can win a game based on a good EMP. But ghosts without enough energy to EMP are just a huge amount of money spent on something that doesn't do any damage, has very low health per dollar, and is just kind of a waste. It's just like dumping money down a hole and then wondering why that hole didn't win the game for you. So I get why you sent me this replay, man. It seems like you did everything right, and then at the end of the game you were just a million miles behind. And I would say that that all really comes down to the fact that he was like 10 workers ahead of you all game. So let's just look at this right here and try not to get distracted by the game itself. Go ahead, income tab. This is a lot easier when you're playing the game yourself and you can look at the graph of army spending versus resource income. In TvP, you should be slightly, like almost not even noticeably behind him on army spending up until about 9 minutes, and then you should be ahead of him for the rest of the game. If you're not ahead of him in spending, you're probably not going to do great. So you're already 6 behind. Yeah, you're already 6 workers behind him. And he fast expanded. You didn't expand at all. His income is higher than yours. You're 10 behind him. You're 12 behind him. You're the bajillion, zillion, quadrillion behind him. So this is a kind of the end of the game in that he took a really quick expo. You took a really late expo. You went and tried to kill him to punish him from taking the expo, and you failed to kill him. So a lot of times, games like that, you just can't recover because he's been double